It's Friday, October 13th, 2023, and this is the Washington Times Front Page. Thanks for joining us. I'm George Gerbo. The Front Page is brought to you by American Hartford Gold. Their gold IRA strategy can shield your wealth from an economic meltdown and is both tax and penalty free. Call 866-525-4680 for more or text TWT to 65532. House Majority Leader Steve Scalise surprised rank-and-file Republicans by dropping out of the race for Speaker after roughly 20 conservatives refused to support him. Susan Ferricchio and Alex Miller report Republicans are now left scrambling for a Plan B that could involve rounding up support for House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan. They could also pick a different candidate or find a way to provide Representative Patrick McHenry, who was appointed temporary Speaker, with the power to conduct legislative business in the chamber. It's now been 10 days since Republicans pushed out former Speaker Kevin McCarthy, with no end in sight to the GOP's governing crisis. Israel's military has ramped up its promised campaign of retaliation for last weekend's murderous rampage by the Palestinian militant group Hamas. Guy Taylor, Dave Sands, and Mike Glenn report the campaign has included leveling entire neighborhoods in the Gaza Strip, massing troops for a possible ground operation against Hamas, and vowing that the assault would continue until 100-plus Israeli and foreign hostages are freed. Secretary of State Antony Blinken promised strong support for Israel, but cautioned Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that Israeli forces must minimize the collateral damage to civilians from the operation. Analysts say a primary goal of the Palestinian militant group and its Iranian backers is to derail normalization of relations in the Middle East. Hamas launched its attack as Saudi Arabia appeared to move closer to establishing formal diplomatic ties with Israel, which would reshape the region's political landscape. It remains to be seen whether Hamas achieved that goal, given the Saudis' long historical role as a protector of Palestinian rights and popular Arab support of the Palestinians. The Front Page is brought to you by American Hartford Gold. When you look at the news today, all you see is a financial landscape that's growing more and more dangerous, especially for your retirement funds. Stubborn inflation, soaring interest rates, and astronomical debt could drain their value. The good news is that there's a strategy that can protect your financial future. It's the Gold IRA from American Hartford Gold. This Gold IRA strategy can shield your wealth from an economic meltdown and is both tax and penalty free. American Hartford Gold has earned a 5-star rating from thousands of reviews and an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. Mention the Front Page podcast and they'll give you up to $5,000 of free silver on your first order. Call 866-525-4680 or text TWT to 65532. That's 866-525-4680 or text TWT to 65532. Ski masks are undergoing a rebrand, with the balaclava-style mask first popularized by rappers gaining social acceptance and seeing an uptick in use in robberies. Matt Delaney reports political and civic leaders see the provocative masks as public safety hazards that embolden thieves. 3 masked carjackers targeted Texas Representative Henry Cuellar at gunpoint in Washington last week. The Democrat was unharmed and his car was recovered quickly, but all 3 carjackers, thought to be teenage boys, remain at large. The lack of consequences for violent crime was a consistent theme in a House Judiciary Subcommittee hearing this week. Homicides, carjackings, and robberies have increased sharply in the district this year, but federal data for fiscal year 2022 shows that D.C. prosecutors refused to try 2/3 of the cases brought to them. And finally, the IRS says the gap between what Americans owe the government and what they actually pay is large and growing. Stephen Dinan reports the IRS said about 85% of Americans do comply with the law, resulting in some $688 billion that wasn't paid on time in 2021. Late payments, audits, and fines will reduce that number to a net tax gap of about $625 billion. That amount is 16% higher than in 2020. Find all today's front page stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page or on the Washington Times app, and find us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Washington Times in your favorite podcast app. You can also find us on social media at Wash Times for breaking news, sports, commentary, and more. For the Washington Times, I'm George Gerbo.